We've got the man with the keys here with us tonight. It's the one and only Professor Alan Lichtman. He has correctly predicted 9 of the last 10 elections. And the one he got wrong, 2000, he argues he actually got right since Al Gore beat George W. Bush in the popular vote. So exactly how does Lichtman make his predictions? Well, he says we should follow his 13 keys to the White House. They include things like incumbency and third-party candidates, state of the economy, and social unrest. If 6 or more go against the party in the White House, its candidate will lose. Fewer than 6, its candidate will win. So what are the keys saying today? Let's bring in Alan Lichtman to talk all about it. Professor Lichtman, look, your keys are pointing toward Kamala Harris. Has anything happened in the last few weeks that makes you feel more confident in your prediction?
Nothing has changed. And by the way, I didn't say I was right in 2000 because of the popular vote. I said I predicted the right president based on the intent of the voters in Florida, as I proved in my 2001 report to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. But historians will be debating 2000 forever. Nothing has changed. The biggest myth in American politics is the so-called October surprise. I've always issued my predictions before then and never changed them. In 2016, for example, we had the biggest October surprise. Donald Trump on tape bragging about sexually assaulting women, and a lot of women coming out and saying, yeah, he did that to me. Even Republicans were saying he was finished. I did not change my prediction of a Trump win, which, Laura, you can imagine, did not make me very popular in 90% plus Democratic DC, where I teach at American University.
Well, you usually have a lot of butterflies ahead of an election, even if you are people getting backlash or otherwise. But you have said that this year, you say you feel like you have I think it was a flock of crows, not just butterflies, in your stomach. What makes you so anxious this time?
Well, 2 things. Number one, I have never experienced the kind of hate I've had heaped on me this time, which has made me very nervous. I've had hate that's scurrilous, vulgar, threatening, violent. Security of my family's been compromised. We've had to notify the police. We've had to fortify our home. It's been terribly upsetting. The other thing is, I believe democracy is on the line in this election. If I'm wrong, so be it. I think being wrong once is not going to discredit my system, but I think if I'm wrong, then our democracy is in very serious peril. Democracy is precious, but it can be destroyed, and it's almost always destroyed from within. And unfortunately, the trend of this century has been the decline of democracy all over the world, and I'm worried about our country.
I'm so sorry to hear, in addition to what you've described, what you have personally had to go through in simply predicting and using your keys. The fact that you get all the vitriol and the hatred is mind-boggling to me, even though I'm not politically naive to where we are right now. I'm sorry for you and your family on that point. For other intellectuals, though, you and a polling legend, Nate Silver, you've been feuding over whose prediction methods are more accurate. The fights, frankly, have gotten pretty heated. And you just mentioned you're taking a break, taking incoming from all corners. Why do you think the climate, though, has gotten so nasty this time around?
It's Donald Trump, and I've never experienced this before Donald Trump. We've never had a candidate before who has dehumanized his political opposition, called them vermin, called them worse than the murderous dictator Kim Jong-un, who machine guns his political opponents, calling out the military against U.S. citizens. Not just criticizing Liz Cheney on her foreign policy, which would be fine, but talking about her facing 9 gun barrels shooting at her. We're saying he wouldn't mind if people shot at the so-called fake news, the press. This is what is different. This is what we have never seen before in American politics. He said he'd be a dictator on day one, to drill, drill, drill. Well, drilling doesn't take one day, it takes months and years. And no dictator in the history of the world has ever relinquished power after being a dictator on day one. And by the way, I didn't like Trump any better in 2016 when I predicted his win. My predictions are totally nonpartisan. I predicted the 2 most conservative presidents of our time. My first prediction was of Ronald Reagan in April 1982, when 60% of Americans said he was too old to run again.
And here we are at the 11th hour practically, and your predictions, you say, stand, and you're not changing your mind on what you've got from these different keys. I'll be really intrigued to see what happens this coming Tuesday, as frankly the entire globe is as well. Alan Lichtman, always a pleasure to pick your brain. Thank you.
My pleasure. And the keys are the North Star of prediction. They don't change.
Donald Trump delivering a dark closing message. The former president casting doubt on an election where the results haven't even been tallied yet. He is already priming supporters with claims the election is being stolen from him, zeroing in on the process in Pennsylvania.
Can you imagine? They spend all this money on machines, and they're going to say, we may take an extra 12 days to determine. And what do you think happens during that 12 days? What do you think happens? These elections have to be decided by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. Bunch of crooked people. These are crooked people.
So to be clear, the election law in Pennsylvania mandates that no mail-in ballots can even be processed before the polls close on Election Day. This led to several days of counting in 2020, which eventually revealed Joe Biden's victory in that state and, of course, in the presidential election overall. Trump left office after losing dozens of lawsuits challenging the results and the violence of January 6th that disrupted the counting of the electoral votes. But now, Trump is saying maybe he should have never left.
We had the safest border in the history of our country the day that I left. I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well. We had such a great. So now, I mean, every polling booth has hundreds of lawyers standing there. It's all about the lawyers. Everybody's standing lawyers. Nobody should have that.
Vice President Harris now striking a more optimistic tone in her final rallies. After calling herself the underdog since she entered the race back in July, now she's saying this.
We have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it? And we have the momentum because our campaign is tapping into the ambitions, the aspirations, and the dreams of the American people. Because we are optimistic and excited about what we can do together.
Of course, momentum. It's the trickiest thing to judge here in the final days. Many of the major battleground and national polls have been showing a dead heat in virtually every state for weeks now, which is why this poll out of Iowa shocked so many people this weekend. The Des Moines Register poll shows Harris up 3 points among likely voters, a 7-point swing toward the vice president in that ruby red state from September. The new margin delivering what sources tell CNN is a gut punch to members of Trump's team. Publicly, here's what Donald Trump has to say about the poll.
No, the polls, I'm telling you, you can make those suckers sing. You get the right pollster, you can do, and you really do inflict damage, you know, when you do like this person from Iowa. It's called suppression. They suppress, and it actually should be illegal because it's, in many ways, it's worse than the written word, which these guys do quite well, actually.
That same Iowa poll correctly predicted Trump's victories in the state in the past 2 elections within 2.5 points of the final margin of victory. Joining us now to discuss all of this, Jackie Kucinich. She's Washington Bureau Chief for the Boston Globe. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you.
My goodness.
Election day is tomorrow.
Who can believe it, truly?
So let's talk about where this race stands here in the final stretch. I mean, you can see there Trump already running the strategy, trying to cast doubt on the results. The Harris team feeling, and when I talk to my Democratic sources, they are feeling cautiously optimistic about where the momentum is. There had been this period where it felt like the race was swinging back towards Trump's direction. I think the big question, is it coming back toward Harris here in the final days?
Well, and you have the New York Times poll this morning that says, yes, that those late-breaking voters, of which there are very few, are breaking. They're seeing them break for Harris. Now, will it be enough? And that is the open question. But even listening to those messages, it's really interesting. It's hard to see who the insurgent candidate is at this point. Who's the incumbent? Who's the challenger? Because it really does sound flipped right now, particularly how the former president is talking. Listen, he has been sowing discontent about this election for a couple months now. And look at the front page of the papers. Everything's about trying to safeguard the vote because these election officials are really concerned about this. I mean, we've reported it. You have in the Post and USA Today. I'm sure the Times has done it as well.
Yeah.
And what you're hearing, his comments about having to have the vote counted on election night, that's just, I mean, election officials have been out for months saying that's not going to happen, and not because anything bad is happening. It's because good things are happening. It's because in these states where the margins are so thin, every vote has to be counted, and that's going to take time.